listening to Mr. Allard's Neighborhood. Small town feel with big time ideas. After all, you are entitled to Brad's opinion. Here's your host, Brad Allard.
Well, another wonderful week here in Johnson County, Tarrant County, all the rest. Beautiful day. We have Jerry Cavanaugh here with Medicare Counseling and Therapy. You know, I have a lot of questions because I'm about 3 years away from Medicare, and I understand it's a highly complex procedure. As a guest producer today, we have Taylor.
Hello.
Hello. Yeah, see, he's out of practice over there, but, every now and then he shows up to oversee his empire,
Yeah.
So how's it going?
Going well. How are you, man?
The dust is up, but whatever. It's
I
another
feel
beautiful
that.
day. It's spring break also for the Burleson kiddies, and so it's going to be, watch out there.
Maybe that's where Josh actually is.
You think so?
Spring break.
All right. Well, let's get back to our guest because he actually, made his time to be out here. He could hear this schmoozing later. And so Jerry Cavanaugh here has a business in Burleson. It's on the third floor of I don't know what they call the building, but everybody knows it as the Rio Mambo
building.
Yeah, right, and all that. It's on the third floor. And if you're about to get into Medicare, you have a loved one that is or about to, you really need to understand this whole situation. And he's going to straighten us out on that. And how long you been doing this particular business?
Well, good morning, Brad. Thank you for having me.
Oh, no, quite all right.
I've had this particular business for about 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
I saw an opportunity as a counselor. I'm a licensed professional counselor and a licensed marriage and family therapist here in Texas, and I've been practicing for nearly 20 years. And I just on January of last year, Medicare opened Part B to allow for seniors to have counseling and family therapy at no cost to them. This is a free counseling service. And I saw an opportunity there as providing a service to my fellow Medicare recipients. I'm 78 years old. I've been on Medicare for some time. And this is a great opportunity for seniors to be able to talk about things like loneliness, grief, anger, or depression.
So the counseling isn't just how to navigate through that complex system. It's also for emotional support as well.
Oh, yes. This is the clients don't have very little to do with working with Medicare. I'm a certified Medicare mental health provider, which means that I have the proprietary software to bill Medicare directly.
Well, before we jump into all that, let's talk about the other sponsors because they make all this possible. Plus, we got some nonprofits that are very busy. This is definitely the nonprofit season. Of course, our place, I was just there last week, and as always, the service and the food was great, and it's a standard here. I don't know anybody that has sat in your seat, Jerry, and then said, "Oh, they've been there many times." It's just like, of course, yeah. And same with Gina's Pizza. I really enjoy that place a lot because I like the music, I like the pizza, of course, and it's just a good atmosphere. I do a lot of business there. Because it's just the kind of atmosphere you want. You going to show us the logo there, bud? Okay, all right. You know how Otto can get. He's watching right now, tapping his watch. Anyway, all right. Gina's Pizza is a good place to go. Also, of course, I bet as you drove in, you saw he's opened up another place about a mile from here.
Yes,
yeah,
I saw that.
Yeah, it's coming on. I've asked him when is it going to be open, and he's like, soon, I hope, because you know how it is with construction and finish outs. Oh, we'll get to it, boss, and then it's a week later and that kind of thing. So I can't give you an exact date, but I know it's very soon. So anyway, thank you, Otto, for all you do. Also, I was texting with my friend John Williams here at Old Pro Roofing. We had some hail last week, and boy, he's been busy. And he's the guy to talk to at Old Pro because they're local Burleson folks, have been here a while. They're not out-of-towners coming in knocking on your door saying, hey, I'm in the neighborhood. No, they live here. And so call John at 817-734-2756. He'll come and check your roof out, tell you, yeah, you survived it, or minor damage or any other kind of issue come up. He'll also help you navigate with the insurance, which is getting more and more difficult. I just got my insurance bill. Yeah. Anyway, so you definitely want to make sure your roof's intact, because what he's told me, that if you wait 365 days, they won't pay for old damage. So if you had damage last week and you thought, well, I'll just wait and see later, and then you forget about it, then you're going to be out of luck. So anyway, call John, 817-734-2756. And also, speaking of your home, and there's Jeff Kelly at the Wethington Agency. Jeff Kelly at 817-781-0546. Or at Jeff at jeffkellyrealty.com. He'll help you out. He was on about a month ago, and we were talking about all the explosion going on here with Joshua and Godly in particular, and even Alvarado starting to pick up the pace. And, Cleburne's growing. In fact, next week I have one of their city council members on. That ought to be a lot of fun to see what's going on over in Cleburne. But it's talk to Jeff. If you're looking to move in and around this area, Jeff's the man to talk to. So, again, 817-781-0546. And if you feel like working out after all this strenuous activity, this is a good place to do it. It's HotWorks. I don't know if you've ever been to HotWorks, but it's an infrared workout system. So it reduces the stress on your bones, your tendons, your joints, whatever. And they have 11 different workouts. So you can go from fairly rigorous to less so. Pilates and yoga and, rowing and things like that, the whole thing. And it's over on John Jones, over by the Kroger and the theater. And Michelle Humphrey's been on here several times. And we really didn't even talk about HotWorks as much. We talk about taking care of your body, hydration, things like that. She's an expert in that kind of thing. So if you want to go over there and you say, I don't know what I need to be doing, but this is what I want to see happen, she can help you with all of that. Also, thank you to our friends over at Local Life Magazine. Tiffany Griffin just had a very successful pub crawl this past Saturday, so it's always good. She really is good about putting on these events and promoting them and things like that. The magazine this month is on home services. I believe Standing Strong Fence Company is on the cover, but they have other home service related businesses in it. So it's a really good place to advertise. 30,000 people get it in their mailbox. I wish they could get it in the post office box. She's working on it. Anyway, Local Life Magazine. And my friend Cody O'Brien at Burleson Buzz, I use his material with his permission on the radio station to find out what's going on at city council meetings or school-related things or whatnot. And it's a good place to kind of keep up. That's between him and my radio station. We're trying to provide a means by which people can get informed, because we don't have a local TV station, certainly, and I haven't had a local newspaper in over a decade. So, it's getting harder to communicate unless you want to do it on Facebook all the time, which has, I don't know, it has some appeal, I suppose, but I'd rather also have other outlets than just one. And one more, yours. I put that up there. We're going to put that up in a little bit later, but there you are. So, but you can tell us all about how to get a hold of you and where to meet, whatever else, get appointments, whatever. So, the Medicare Counseling and Therapy, LLC. And I'm really interested in that because, what you provide is something that a lot of people may not think people need, because, in my generation, our generation, therapy and counseling, we have to be talked into it and that kind of thing. And I'm sure you encounter that all the time. As far as the nonprofits, we get a bunch going on. We have our friends over in Joshua with they're having a revival. A men's conference really is what it is. It's a men's conference at April 5th. Over at 8 o'clock, it's $25 to attend, so you can have the materials and the lunch and whatever else, and they're going to have speakers. This is the Uprising Church over in Joshua. Our friend Caleb Tomlinson is putting this on. It's meant for men's-related discussion, studies, etc. So that's a great day. And then that night, after you've done this, after you've been educated in this, you can go over to the Brick and go to Light Up the Night for the Center for ASD. It's going to be a busy Saturday. And they're still looking for some vendors if you want to go there. And so it's April 5th also, and it's going to be from 6 to 9, and it's over at the Brick, and it's a really big deal. This is one of their big fundraisers. And Lisa was on the show last week promoting this. So y'all want to take care of that. If you'll see it, because it's part of it is lighting it up the night over at the Brick. And we have, I think, one more. Do we not? Well, I do know we have 2 or 3 other things coming. I don't know if you have the logos yet. On Thursday, I'm talking to Megan and Summer about their Walk for Life at Next Step. I know on the 27th of April, Harvest House has their Vineyards and Vibes. Then also, I believe it's the first Saturday of May, we have City on a Hill. My goodness, this town's going to be busy. There's Vineyards and Vibe right there. Okay. See, Taylor hasn't lost his touch, even though he's gone half the time. Okay, fine. All right, let's start with you, Jerry. Okay. Prior to being a counselor, you worked at Miller for...
I worked at Miller Brewing for 25 years and retired the first day I could.
Yeah, so did I, practically. Yeah. Oh, I get it. I mean, when I was teaching school, I could have stayed longer, but I knew I would just be, clock watching. And I'd lost my fastball, as they say. It's time to move on when. But as far as the beer company, I always wondered, do they really have beer tasters?
Oh, yes. I was one.
How do you get a gig like that? I mean, what a job. It's like Norm on Cheers getting a job as a beer taster,
Yes, it was. I was in the brewing department, and that part of the routine was to taste the aged beer, which is much more potent than the finished product. And so we would each taste 5 or 6 tanks, and that was it.
How did you not go home with a headache every day? I mean, I'm sure you weren't, having, full 8 ounces or something.
Oh, no. There's a little more than shot glasses.
Yeah, right. I'm sure. And just a taste, I'm sure. But still, what a gig. I mean, but still, I didn't envision y'all, having a big old stein of each of the tanks. Yeah, I'm on my 9th one. Take me home, please. No.
Well, when we could drink on the job, that was not unusual.
Oh, I'll bet. But that's a good gig. So, but after you retired, then you decided you want to get into counseling.
Yeah.
What brought that about?
Well, it started in the late 90s when when Miller was laying off salaried workers, and I would see colleagues of mine disappear, and I was fortunate enough to make it through. But I told my wife I could, because I worked in the brewing department, I could probably get on with Budweiser, but that's the same kind of life. I enjoyed working at Miller, but I wanted something else. And my wife, luckily enough, sent me to a place over in Dallas called AIMS. It's Aptitude Inventory Measurements Services.
I actually have heard of that. You're not the first person that's told me they've taken these kind of tests, and they mentioned sitting down in Dallas and going through all this standardized type testing.
Yeah. And because they weren't expecting at the time a 48-year-old man to come in. They're geared towards high school and college kids and recent graduates who realize they made a mistake in their profession.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that emotion. Yes, before I was a teacher, I was a financial analyst, and I liked it okay, but I knew I'd rather be doing something else. So
and. Well, when I finished, they poked and prodded me over 2 days, and one of their promises was that they would give the person a list of the colleges that would be best suited for them, and the list of professions that they would be most happy in. And at the very top was, for me, play therapy at the University of North Texas, and they asked me, they asked me, what are you doing in a manufacturing environment? And I said, well, I'm making a living, trying to keep my family going. And they asked me if I knew what play therapy was. I thought to myself, sure, I could be a gym teacher. I love working with kids, love working with little kids. When they said, no, that's not it. We'll explain it to you. And it was like gears meshing. and I began taking my master's at UNT and graduated in 2003, a year after I retired, with a Master of Science in Counseling. And then I went out into the world thinking I knew everything, and
Don't we all?
and I knew nothing. And that's not a dig against the University of North Texas.
Right. That's, you learn on the job. I mean, I went and got my teaching certification from UTA, and they did a fine job, but I learned more my first couple of years than I ever did at UTA, not because their lack of ability, just that's the way the world works.
Yeah. My first job was with the bridge in Fort Worth, and what I would do is I was responsible for giving play therapy sessions to rural Johnson County families. And when I was doing this while working with the children, I saw that the bigger family was in much more serious difficulty. And so that's when I began to wonder if I can take marriage and family therapy courses. And I found a couple at UNT that I took, and quite serendipitously, someone told me, Texas Women's University has a doctorate in family therapy. And while I was in practice, I began my work in 2007 and received my doctorate in 2015 in family therapy from Texas Women's University.
And it's interesting because I have some hours from Texas Women's, and everybody, of course, being in the name, think there's no men there, but yeah, they're in the minority, but there are plenty of men there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
If you compare Texas Women's University to UNT, just the bathrooms alone are pristine.
Yeah,
as
I
opposed
guess
to
it is
UNT.
advantage. Well, I took a couple of classes, and there'd be like 3 other men in the room and about 40 women, but but they were the only ones that were offering specialized courses in talented and gifted at the time, which both your kids were a part of.
Yeah.
And so, I had to go through that routine, and I was very satisfied with it. So you have a doctorate. I knew you did, but I didn't know where from. But a doctorate, and so we're talking about somebody that's really studied quite a bit of this. Did you ever envision yourself about 10 years prior to that, or whenever when you were working for Miller, that one day you'd have a doctorate in this type of field?
No, not a doctorate. When you work in a manufacturing environment, you tend to focus on the day-to-day operations, which is essential. But you begin to one of the most difficult things I had to do was to learn how to read again, and I mean read for content, and that I started taking courses at the Tarrant County and community college, and just the having to read and reread and reread again some of the textbooks that they gave me about child development. It was absolutely fascinating to me. I had no idea that was available, and so that was probably the most difficult steps in my education, was starting again.
Right. When I was going through the education school, I worked for a couple of years after I got out of Baylor, and then I said, no, I need to do something else. And I went back. I started at UT Dallas, but they didn't have what I needed at that time. So I went to UT Arlington, and and it was different because some of the most difficult reading for me was the psychology-related courses and educational theory and whatever else, all those footnotes and whatnot. But I'm sure we probably covered some of the same ground.
Oh, sure.
I remember reading about Piaget and all that, and so it was it was interesting to me, because you go into the education field, and I thought it'd be get up there, learn them good, make sure they don't burn the school down. But it's a little bit more than that, So, but as far as your background, so you got into the counseling part of it. This counseling you're doing now, though, is not child related, right?
Right.
Yeah.
When COVID hit, I work part-time at the parenting center in Fort Worth, and I've been there for 12 years with them. And I was doing all play therapy. And when COVID hit, and my wife suffered a stroke, and she's quite frail now. And so I had to make a decision that children tend to be vectors of disease. They tend to bring colds and things into the playroom.
Hey, tell me about it. My first year teaching school, I was sick all the time because I hadn't built up the immunities yet.
And what I had to make that decision that what would maybe knock me back for a day or two may kill her. So I gave up working with children because of that.
When you talk about play therapy, I kind of have an idea of what you're talking about, but maybe some of our guests don't. I'm not totally clear on what is exactly play therapy.
In the playroom, children get to play out their difficulties and what is generally on their mind, and it's not a time of playing as if running around and doing that. The children understand what's going on and get in, and you have to be a careful observer of the children and their facial expressions, how things are going. Do they look away, and how did that play out? Things like handcuffs, guns are routinely used. I can't tell you the number of times I've been handcuffed, shot, and killed in one fashion or another, and that relates directly back to what's going on in their family.
So, in my mind, I was envisioning also they were playing with manipulative toys. I try to get the word out, and that was kind of a way of loosening up what's on their mind by playing with these various blocks and whatever else or other types of toys. And once they kind of are involved in that, all the hidden stuff comes up to the top. That's kind of what I was envisioning.
That's exactly what it is. It's like, and the medium is sand. That's where children and having a wide variety of symbolic people, creatures, and airplane things like that they can't articulate, but they can put it out in that sand tray, and start asking them a little bit about those. Well, who's that person? And they'll say, well, it's my mom's new boyfriend, and he's seen as a very angry, very difficult guy to be around. And those are the kinds of issues that most children come in with, is that they've got a home life that's not very well established, not stable, and it affects them negatively.
Yeah, one thing I learned about teaching school is that this affects all across races, economic status, whatever stratus you want to put somebody in. There's not like just a certain type of family this happens to. This happens to all families.
Oh yeah.
And see, I come in. I'm not a very experienced teacher, and you think, that this happens in only those kind of families.
Yeah.
Well, no. I found out very quickly what you might consider to be an upper middle class family that has a veneer of respectability. Find out there's all sorts of garbage going on underneath, and so we had to learn real quick. I did that not to categorize people going through this. Well, that's their social economic status or whatever, or that's what happens to those kind of people. Yeah. It happens to everybody.
Oh yeah.
I tell you, anybody that goes through a couple of years of teaching high school in particular or junior high, you find out a lot of their preconceived ideas are totally wrong, and I found that out myself.
Yeah.
So, so you jumped over into more adult counseling then.
Yes, I made the move to adult counseling, and that was an evolution. That was my entire practice was geared towards children, and so it was a big leap, and I see a wide variety of people with difficulties, and what I did when I saw that Medicare is opening up for counselors and therapists to supply a service to seniors, I jumped on that because I think I have a message that will resonate with seniors. And I am a senior. I'm 78 years old.
Well, you say you have a message. What would that message be?
That there's counseling. There's people available that will listen without judgment, make no recommendations, and will not introduce any dogmatic religious fervor. That at Medicare Counseling and Therapy, we honor everyone's belief.
Now, as far as the counseling, see, when I first encountered you, when you talk about Medicare Counseling and Therapy, I thought it was counseling specifically about the Medicare system, but really it's about anything you want to talk about.
Yes, it's. I am not an expert in Medicare. It was frankly, it was a walk through hell to become certified with Medicare. It was. And what I do is I provide counseling, therapy, and because I have proprietary software, I bill Medicare directly. The client pays no fee, and I don't ask for any credit card or bank card information because Medicare pays me directly.
So people listening to this that are on Medicare, and they need some sort of counseling, grief counseling, I bet that comes up a lot in your profession.
Grief and loneliness are so intertwined.
Right.
That comes out almost all the time. And oddly enough, marital difficulties.
I'm not surprised, because when you're older and there's so many, the stresses are still there, financial stresses, the stresses of the world, maybe your children, grown adult children causing you stress, whatever. I could see that very easily. But as far as, the kind of counseling we're talking about, I would imagine you get a lot of widows and widowers.
Yes.
Not because it's, common, but because it's the age bracket we're talking about.
Yeah.
And probably a lot of them are having difficulty moving past it.
Yes, and very often they try to make sense of what they did with their lives, and that's where they tend to really talk about is what incidents, what occasions, anything that happened of significance, either positive or negative, in their lives and how that's affected them for the rest of their lives. And because I'm 78 years old, I can relate to all of the difficulties that they had because those were the same kinds of challenges I had when I was growing up with them. And that's why I believe I have a unique perspective that seniors can use. And I offer both telehealth and in person. I have an office here where Rio Mambo is located, and but I do have telehealth capability, so that means if anyone from across the state or here locally that would rather sit in their own room in their home, they can. If they have a smart device, we can connect, and that for many seniors is a real challenge is trying to talk about or engage in the computer. I
heard that. I am so bad at that. But one of the things that I've noticed over the years, I've talked to other people that are somewhat related to your profession, is the reluctance people in our generation have about this. Because when we were growing up, we were brought up in a more you need to be self-sufficient kind of attitude, and that people that go into counseling either have emotional not just difficulties, but emotional disturbances.
Yeah.
Or there's something wrong with them, that kind of business. And so it's hard for, particularly men my age to say, yes, I need to go to therapy. And so rather than going to therapy, we take it out on our families or we drink too much or whatever else. And so, that's probably, I would imagine, another obstacle you have to overcome is that generational bias against this type of activity.
Well, that you've touched on something. There are two issues that I've found And the first is for younger counselors and therapists, it's ageism. They generally are not too interested in talking to older people. The second is counselors and therapists, the younger people, the young guys and women who are just starting out or have a family to raise. They have budgetary issues, and Medicare doesn't pay very much. Medicare does not pay very much. I own my own home. I'm okay. So I don't have those kinds of existential pressures to deal with. I've got some credit cards for my business that I have to pay off, but I can deal with the Medicare and what they give.
Well, also, I would imagine, here comes somebody that's roughly our age, and you're dealing with some 27-year-old that maybe only has a couple of years of experience. They don't relate to what an older person's gone through. They haven't had, you would think, probably they didn't have a spouse die. Their kids, if they have them, are very young. And another thing that I've noticed with parents, or not parents, or people our age, is also estrangement from their family.
Yes.
That's another issue I'm sure you encounter quite a bit.
Yes.
You probably get some of these clients that are not close with their children.
I haven't talked to my sister in 30 years.
Yeah, that kind of thing.
Tell me why. What's going on? And those are the kinds of things that come up. They often come for grief, but it's a combination of grief, loneliness, and retrospectively. Now, why have I been disconnected from my sister or my brother or my family or my children? That's and we talk about that.
In today's society, that's more common than one thinks.
Oh yeah,
the estrangement between parents and children.
Yeah,
and I know several stories.
Yeah,
and it's like you just don't you don't understand why. And I guess that's what you're in there for, is to help them discover why, or if it's not really their fault, and then how they can handle it.
It's interesting. I've come away with the concept that for younger people, getting old was a bad social choice that we made as old people, and that it's not going to happen to them. And I've also found that you hit right on something that for many of the therapists and counselors, older people just don't like speaking to someone who looks like their granddaughter or grandson. And thankfully, they don't. Those younger counselors don't have the issues that we've lived with for 75, 78 years. And so they've got a brand new, fresh look on life that doesn't include the difficulties of the elderly.
What do you tell somebody from our generation that is reluctant to go into counseling because of what we mentioned earlier, I don't know, just the generational bias that we had, because we grew up in the 60s and 70s, and therapy was seen as something that for people in trouble more than something to try to prevent trouble. Yeah. What do you tell somebody that, maybe you have this couple and the spouse says, my husband needs to have counseling, and you talk to the husband and he's like, no, I could handle it on my own. What would you tell somebody like that?
Well, I would ask them to just come and talk to me. Just talk to me. I'm not going to preach at you. I'm not going to condemn you. A lot of that has to do with, it's been my experience, a lot of that has to do with being embarrassed or ashamed for being there.
Exactly. That's where I was getting at, is that you feel like I failed because I didn't handle it, like my old man did. Well, how did your old man handle it? Well, he drank a lot and beat me, that kind of thing. But, or that kind of thing. Or my dad never talked about it, and on and on and on. Exactly. You feel a sense of failure sometimes for being in counseling. And I had to overcome that bias a few years ago myself.
Yeah. It's as you said, it's a generational thing. we grew up in the 50s and 60s. Getting that was not an option for the average family. It was for wealthy families. At the time, it was psychoanalysis, Freudian psychoanalysis, and that was costly. It was daily, and I'm not sure about the results, but in the 50s, that was the mode of therapy, with psychotherapy.
Well, in my personal story, about a decade ago, I wasn't handling it. I thought I was, but I wasn't handling it very well. Yeah. The stresses of school, stresses of raising children, the stresses of, mistakes I'd made, things like that, because, not every decision I made was a good one. And so I went to Promises Community, which is a different type of counseling, right? It's spiritually in the background, but it is licensed counseling, and you can talk about anything you want, whether it be spiritually related or not. If you're there for that, great. If you're not, great too. And I found that it was helpful, and it also is something that it isn't a one and done thing. No, I've had other issues, and rather than going down that road again, I try to head myself off at the pass. And recently I went through about 6 months of every other week, roughly. Yeah. And it was on telehealth to boot. And so it was with my former counselor who had moved. And so I wanted to maintain that relationship. So you did on telehealth, and it was fine. But I tell people out there, just because you went to counseling for about 6 months a decade ago isn't like going to the doctor and they give you a pill and you're cured. You're going, this is an ongoing thing in one's life. Oh yeah.
We're faced with challenges every day, and at times it can be overwhelming. Socioeconomic status is what's coming as an undercurrent in all of this, is that I'm on a fixed income and I can't afford counseling. Well, I am here to tell you that it's free. It's cost free.
Now, this service you provide, though, you have to be, registered, certified, whatever the word is, with Medicare. It isn't like anybody in their program can offer it. You have to have gone through this process, right?
You have to be a Medicare recipient or be on Medicare Advantage. There are two types.
Well, I meant the provision of it, not the access of it. I mean, so it isn't like everybody that offers counseling services can offer this.
Right.
That's paid for by Medicare. I'm
a certified mental health provider with Medicare.
Right. You have to be with them as opposed to, hey, I'll just add that as another line of business.
Right.
It didn't work that way.
I'm not sure. I think I see a lot of people saying we see seniors Medicare we take care of. I'm not sure that that they are fully capable of doing that.
No,
because it takes becoming certified to get that proprietary software.
Well, I also would think that since this is what you specialize in, as opposed to being like, okay, today, at 1 o'clock my client is for Medicare, at 2 o'clock my client has got this issue, at 3 o'clock my client is, got this other thing, rather be in some kind of a clinic that handles all of it. You specialize in the issues that people our generation have.
And it, of course, there is the idea. It's it's a lot easier to deal with Medicare than with others, a bunch of other insurances.
Yeah, I've heard that. Yes. Yeah. People complain about Medicare, but if they've been dealing with an insurance company, it's kind of the same hassle. So
yeah, and there's also the thing. I'm 78. I don't need 10 different insurance providers. That would be a big part of my plate.
You'd be spending your whole day with that, right?
Yeah.
So you mentioned already that you have to be on Medicare to access this,
or Medicare Advantage.
Okay.
More recent people that go to Medicare are signing up for Medicare Advantage.
Do you help them with that, or is that you?
They have to be on that. I don't have any.
So you're not really navigating that government program as such.
No, okay. Right? I don't. I'm not in a position. I don't have the expertise to guide people through.
Well, I'm sure you have some familiarity with it, but that's not your lane, so to speak.
Yeah.
And so one of the good things about being a retired teacher at the TR system is the TRS folks will help Robin and I go through that when it's our turn. They'll take care of a lot of that. It isn't like I'm just going to have to pick up the phone one day and call them and then go through the routine and all this other stuff. Of course, now with what's going on with the government, are you concerned about the future of this type of service?
Oh, yes. I am concerned. I am very, very concerned that we are going to privatize Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid. That's not what I signed up for. Mm-hmm. And if they cut benefits, especially, and I have a personal involvement in that, then I'm out of business. I don't think that counseling would survive some of the cuts that are going in through now.
That would be a very, very bad shame, okay? Because, we see what's going on in the news and what's going on with the government cuts and whatever else. And I think my personal opinion, this is just me talking, is that once these cuts start affecting people we know, or ourselves personally, as opposed to those people over in Virginia and who work for this agency, when they start hitting home, then we may have a little different perspective on all what's going on. And this is something that I think is absolutely necessary. I mean, to me, it's a sad situation for our elderly to live in a state of despair just because they don't have the wherewithal to go to routine counseling. And most elderly people I know, they feel like if they spend money on counseling, they're taking away from their children's inheritance. I've heard that before.
Yeah. I understand. And if I could mention this, I would strongly encourage all the people here that are listening to contact their congressmen and contact their senators and say, protect our Medicare, protect our Social Security and Medicaid.
I know that President Trump has said that's not going to be touched, but it's like any other political promise written in sand. Yeah. And so I don't take it to the bank. I do believe that Roger Williams and others who right now are kind of sitting on the sidelines for a lot of this stuff, once grandma's Social Security check gets cut or Medicare gets cut, that phone's going to light up in his office, and he may have a different perspective. And what I've been seeing is that a lot of the politicians are going home for town halls are getting an earful about this, as they should. Yeah. And because people moan and groan about Medicare and the jungle that it is to get on it and dealing with it. The doctors I know don't like it, whatever else. They obviously haven't spent much time with an insurance company.
Oh, yeah.
That's a fight down to the mat.
Yes, yeah. And my colleagues, my young colleagues, will tell me that it's another trip through hell for each of the insurance companies because they're wanting to deny claims. They're wanting to decrease the benefit that's paid out, and that has a bottom line impact on their ability to either grow or maintain their family.
Well, I've talked to my doctor about this before, about the difference. He says it just depends on what kind of fight you want to have. Basically, the fight with Medicare, he says, is the bureaucracy and going through the paperwork and going blah, blah, blah. The fight with insurance companies is, all the minutia of what is and is not covered and will they cover this? And then they'll say no originally, and then you have to go and threaten them, basically, and that kind of thing. So it's a different kind of fight. With the Medicare, from what I understand, it's mostly just a lot of bureaucratic red tape kind of thing, as opposed to dealing with a denial of some sort.
One of the issues that comes up that I had to learn was that their Medicare's computers are from the 90s when AOL was king, if you recall what AOL was like.
Dial up. Taylor's about to have a stroke over there. He's over there. What? Yeah,
No, I grew up on that.
You did, huh? Okay, with Flash.net, that was my first my first email address was a Flashnet address. He's over there like, who am I supposed to be talking about when we were making fire with sticks? You know?
Y'all had fire back then?
Yeah, okay, anyway.
Yeah, and that is antiquated equipment. If our listeners are comfortable with their computer or their laptop, going back to that archaic system is hard, because you learn that smart instruments take care of a lot of things. You have to go back into every block and put information in and do it correctly and do it one after the other. And it can be it's tedious,
Yes,
but
it is.
It finally gets through.
I had a friend who had a business that was doing medical coding and things like that, and it was like I could enjoy that because it was so detailed. Oh. And here's the thing. This is another comment. This is my comment again. Is that this vilification of government employees really is unfair, because when people get upset about the government, they get upset with the people, but most of the people are just carrying out the policy, and so be upset with the policy and change that, not blame the people that are basically told, here's what you're going to do. Yeah. Last week I got on Social Security, and I found it to be a fairly easy process, and I have no complaints. And same with Robin when she got on it. We talked to a Social Security counselor. We filled out the stuff, and we're on it. We got the back pay or whatever they call it, and pretty quickly and all that. And so, it's like they talk about the IRS. Yeah, who wants to deal with the IRS? Nobody. But they're also, it's the policies they're carrying out, not evil people with evil intent. So we need to back off this characterization that is becoming prevalent in the news.
The concept of a fat bureaucratic worker sitting drinking coffee and with their feet up is not what government employees do. That's not what they do.
Well, that characterization could be applied just about any profession. I mean, it's like we talk about insurance companies, or I've dealt with other bureaucracies of types, and it's not uncommon to run across somebody in a private sector that would fit that characterization of a fat cat type of person, or a lazy slob. I've dealt with them before in private sector. Like, how do you keep a job? But that's not my problem. Yeah. But I don't know how we got onto this, but I guess that's been on my mind a little bit, because I get some texts and emails from former students in particular, and they're very upset. Yeah. No, because they're upset because what they see in this country is, they understand that there's waste, fraud, abuse, et cetera. We need to root it out, but it's like we're just uprooting not just the weeds, but also the wheat. Yeah. And as they say, but anyway, as far as how does one get a hold of you?
I have my phone number is 817-992-8034.
We need to put that on your screen there. We'll put that on. Taylor, can you handle it? You got it. No problem. Okay. We'll put, so that way when we flash it up on the screen during the ads, we can. Okay. All right.
And I have an email. It's Gerard. It's GERARD at Medicare Counseling and Therapy, one word.com.
Well, we'll get that on the screen so people can see it. Also, by the way, tomorrow I have the Chamber of Commerce Center. You a member of the Chamber?
No, not yet. No,
well, you ought to consider that, because it's not that expensive, really. And the ladies are very entertaining, for one thing, but Melissa and Sarah do really good work in promoting businesses in Burleson. And so I just threw that out there as a okay. But it's I'll talk to them tomorrow, and I'll have them get a hold of you. And they really do good things for the community, and it'll get your name out there.
If I could, I'd like to say something about the telehealth portion.
You bet. Go ahead.
For people who are listening and are reluctant to engage in telehealth, our process is very easy. It's very user friendly, and I will help you every step of the way if you want to be on telehealth. I will. It's a very easy process, and I use Zoom, Zoom, as my platform, and that's an app that listeners can download for free, and I will send the code, each code for for our meetings. All they have to do is put that code in it and Zoom, and we're connected. They don't have to. They don't have to do it. I text their codes, and they put it in, and it's really very easy.
Right, and I can second that because that did the telehealth with the Zoom, and I am, as Taylor will tell you, very technically inept.
Yeah.
So for the vast listening audience out there, if you have problems with the technology, call Taylor here, and he will know. No, but it's really not that difficult. But besides, everybody knows a 12-year-old kid. So here, give it to the phone to the kid. He'll take care of it for you. So
I will send pictures of what this look like. What you look. I do have a website.
Okay, what's that?
It's www.medicarecounselingandtherapy.com. Mm-hmm. There's a client portal up there. I have a button on the website that'll give you directions from your house directly to 295 East Renfro. And
just say you go to the entrance besides Rio Mambo, go up the elevator, and boom, there you are.
There's three floors.
Right. Well, if you throw out the radio stuff, this will be. The show is promoted on 88.3, and I promise you're going to have a lot of people that will listen to that station that would be interested in this, because I've talked to Rich Hooper, who runs it, and their demographics would be probably my age and a little younger, maybe, and so they're getting into that category. So 88.3, it's down out of Keene, and it's. It really be very good for this. It's Christian-oriented music, but they also like to promote interests, things of interest other than just spiritual-related things. Mm-hmm. They want to talk about. I had a show about taxes. And Christians need to know about taxes, certainly, and that kind of thing. And so also this will be on tonight at 6:00 on Community Radio TX, which is on TuneIn, Odyssey, and Live 365. I put it always on a daily basis on the Facebook, so you can hit that link and boom, you're right there on your laptop. Okay. It'll be on 6:00 tonight, 1:00 tomorrow afternoon. And tomorrow I have, like I mentioned, the Chamber of Commerce with Melissa and Sarah, and then we have an extra show on Thursday with Megan and Summer with the Next Step Women's Center. But as we finish out, Jerry, why don't you take us to the end here? Tell us what we need to know.
Well, I'd like to share that I will be doing Lunch and Learn conferences in South Fort Worth, Crowley, Burleson, Cleburne, and Mansfield. And I'll be going to their senior centers. I'll be providing lunch. I'll bring sandwiches from HEB and snack and cookies and chips and things like that.
Are the dates for these on your website?
No, they're not on my website.
Mm-hmm. So what are the dates for these events? Maybe you can email them later to me.
I will email them to you. Yeah. I know the first one is March 27th. That's in South Fort Worth. Okay.
Well, if you give me the locations and the dates, I can not just put it in the ad space, but also I could put it on Municipal Matters and a couple other Facebook pages.
The people that I talk to, the folks that I talk to, say that the seniors really react to a free meal.
Sure do. I do. You could put food on the table, it's a lot better chance I'll be there. It's, I'm going to hear this guy talk for now. Oh, I got a sandwich at least, Absolutely.
Yeah.
So that makes a big deal. Well, I appreciate what you do, and I appreciate you, sponsoring this show, and also the fact that, provide this kind of service, because, I'm glad that we're at a point now we could talk about these services and not have some sort of stigma attached.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that it's available here in Burleson.
And as I said, I don't judge, comment, or say you ought to be doing this, or you're going to burn in hell if you don't do that.
Well,
that's going to be nothing like that.
Good, because a lot of people feel like if they go to counseling, they're going to be judged and made to feel guilty about bad mistakes. That's not what it's there for. Taylor, thank you for just being you, man.
Always. Just trying to be like you.
All right. Well, who wouldn't talk on it? You going to be here tomorrow?
Yes, I'll be here tomorrow.
How about Josh? Is he going to be? He's sick, right?
Yeah.
Oh, well.
He'll be feeling better soon.
Well, all right. And thanks for jumping in, guys. And we will see y'all tomorrow.